to share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from here, and this has been like a therapy session.
This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. I'm joined by the man, the Cobra, the legend Carl Froch. Was that a good enough introduction?
That was very good, thank you.
How are you, first of all?
Yeah, not bad. Just had a week in Lincoln, of all places, with the kids. We're off school for a week, aren't I, half term, so couldn't go away because I had to get back for this. Couldn't bother to fly for 3 or 4 days. So I just stayed local. Just had a nice little break with the kids and the missus. Yeah, it's been good. Enjoy it. I love my time with the kids. There's like a massive hot tub in this house we hide out, like a swimming pool, but it was a hot tub. Kids are loving it, mate. And yeah, I've just been playing Uno, and it's that game. Is it Doggle or Dobble, where you got match the pictures? You got kids. You'll soon know. Well, you got.
I've got a 2-year-old, so I don't know what you're referring to. But.
Yeah, I think it's Dobble or Doggle. I think it's Dobble, and you have to match the pair and say it first. But yeah, we have some right fun around the fireplace playing that. Sounds sad, but being a father, mate, it's very rewarding and giving. For you don't have to do much, and I'm just loving it, mate. I'm loving life. Retired with my children, and the missus, obviously. And coming to the odd boxing event. Really looking forward to this fight with Lee Wood and Lara, because this is
right. Well, Carl, before we refer to obviously the main event this weekend between Lee Wood and Maurizio Lara, last time I spoke to you after Smith and Eubank, you kind of put feelers out there that there could be a Cobra return. Was that a bit of banter, or did you mean it? What's the crack?
It's mad how many people are involved in boxing now that think they can put these fights together, these exhibition fights. So just for clarity, I won't be boxing professionally at any time soon in a proper boxing match, because these exhibitions and these YouTubers aren't real boxing matches. They're entertainment. Let's just get that straight. And I'm including Jake Paul and whoever else, whichever. I mean, he's like the main YouTuber at the minute. He's fighting Tommy Fury, but he's not a pro. He's an entertainer, and he's good at it. And he knows how to make money doing it. It's a fair play to him. I've got nothing against him at all. Just don't call yourself a professional fighter, because you're not. You know what I mean? You're just a performing clown, as they say.
So I'm going to just play a little bit of devil's advocate with this one. If you got offered, I'm going to chuck a figure in there, £30 million to fight Jake Paul in whatever capacity, would you do that?
Mate, I'd fight Mike Tyson in his prime for 30 million, because he just... You duck a couple of shots and then your leg would go, and then that'd be it, the game over. Of course I would. I mean, it wouldn't take that much to fight Jake Paul. It wouldn't take 30 million. If a fight with Jake Paul like genuinely transpired and somehow he thought to himself, yeah, I'll take Froch on, which he never ever would, because it'd be ridiculous. I might be 45 years old, but any retired professional world champion that keeps himself in good shape would have no problem at all just absolutely playing with Jake Paul. It'd be like a mismatch. I don't even think you'd probably have to train a little bit for it, just to get the lungs and the heart filled up with a bit of air and get yourself so you can do you've got to at least be able to do 2 minutes of one round, haven't you? You ain't got to worry about doing 2 or 3 rounds, but you do need to be able to throw at least 10 punches. So I'll get myself in the 10 punch state, and then, yeah, I'd take the fight. But it ain't going to happen.
Okay, let's move on to Lee Wood. Yeah, since you kind of have retired, Nottingham has searched high and low, even though Lee Wood was still around at that time, but Lee Wood's kind of prominence has come over the last sort of 2 or 3 years, where he's taken these kind of dangerous fights, he's won these dangerous fights, and he's in another dangerous fight come Saturday night against Maurizio Lara. But Nottingham are loving Lee Wood right now.
They are. They're turning up for him, and I'm expecting a packed house tomorrow at the arena in Nottingham. And he's in a tough fight. It's exciting because it's tough, and people are saying it's a little bit like my Butte fight, it's got similarities, but I think it's tougher than that. I'm not going to obviously play my fight down with Butte, because he was an unbeaten world champion, but I demolished him, and it kind of, I don't know, was that an amazing, ridiculously solid performance for me? Yeah, it was. I came in charged, and I was baying for blood, and I wanted to finish him off early, and I went for it. But I just think Lee Wood's in against a younger, strong guy, someone who can punch. I know he's on his record, he's got 2 losses, but really, I mean, his pro debut, and then that body shot last week, climbed off the floor and the ref waved it off. I think Lara's unbeaten, and he's dangerous. But Lee Wood's a quality fighter. Look what he did with Conlon. He got dropped, climbed off the floor, kept believing in himself, kept digging in, kept working away, and he managed to force that stoppage in the last round in what was an amazing night in Nottingham. And I handed over the sheriff badge that night to Lee Wood, the new sheriff of Nottingham. And if he can pull this off, then Eddie Hearn needs to pull his finger out and get him a fight at the Nottingham Forest City ground.
Josh Warrington?
Josh Warrington makes the most sense, but I mean, I don't know any of the big world champions, but the Warrington fight, because it's domestic, I think that's the big one at the City ground. But he's got to do the business. He's got to do the business tomorrow.
Just going back to that night, I was here in Nottingham against you and Lucien Boutte, and I think people kind of also not forget, but maybe overlook the fact that you were coming off the Ward loss, etc., and then you weren't expected to win that fight. Lucien Boutte at the time was an absolute killer. So let's have it right, that's what it was. And you weren't, in the eyes of many people, expected to win that fight, and you absolutely destroyed him.
Absolutely, and that's where mindset and belief in training, belief in the career you've had. All right, I lost to Andre Ward, but I lost to a really good fighter in Andre Ward. Very technically, just a nightmare, hard to get hold of. Everyone who knows Andre Ward knows how hard he is to beat. If he's even beatable, I think you've got to chin him, you've got to knock him out, and he's hard to hit, so it's hard to knock somebody out you can't hit. But I went into that fight with Lucien Boutte thinking to myself, this is now or never. If I lose this fight, it's game over for me, because the desire was sort of leaving me a little bit after the Super 6 in America and the Andre Ward loss. I was kind of, I'd had enough of it. And it was my first fight back on British soil. It was in Nottingham, in front of all my fans and all my friends and family, kids I went to school with, and just everyone who was anyone. And when you're in your hometown and you're in front of everybody you know, I think it brings something extra out in you. And I went into the ring that night with a mindset of, I'm going to leave it all in the ring. I'm experienced enough to know that if I got out of the ring and I hadn't left it all in the ring and I hadn't done enough and I didn't quite deserve to win, like when I boxed Ward, it was tricky, and I could have started earlier. I could have started in round 1 and 2 instead of starting in round 4 or 5, for example. So I made sure in my head I was going to go in there and just go for broke from round 1 right through to round 12, if that's how long the fight would have lasted. So I could have gone home that night, win or lost, and said, listen, that was all I had. I couldn't do anything else. I think if Lee Wood does that, he's got a chance of beating Lara, a good chance. But that night against Boutte was exactly that. And I've seen fighters since that win that had opportunities to go for it. And I'm not digging him out, but Anthony Joshua against Usyk in the rematch, bigger, stronger, taller. All right, he runs out of stamina because he's a big lad if he goes for it, but he didn't go for it early enough. He had a good round. I think it was round 8 or 9. I know we're not talking about AJ, but if he'd have had that mindset that I had when I boxed Boutte and went for it from round 1 and just rained hell on him and just leathered him, body in head, and ragdoll, got on top of him, squeezed his neck and punched him around the body and pushed him back, I reckon he'd have got the win. And that's what I did that night with Boutte. I just put it on him. I walked through a couple of big shots, and when you're fit and strong, you can take some big shots early on. Obviously, you don't want to walk onto an absolute stinker and be flattened. But that's never happened to me, so I get in the ring confident if I do get clipped, I'll be all right. So yeah, I went for it against the waffled on a little bit there, didn't I? But I went for it against Boutte, stuck it all on the line, put everything on him from round 1 right through to when it got finished. Was it round 5 or round 6? I think it was round 5.
5, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and I think if Lee Wood does that, he'll get the win.
And Eddie Hearn nearly fucked it all up for you.
I didn't realise how bad that was, him jumping in the ring a bit too early. Apparently that could have got me disqualified.
It could have done, apparently.
That would have been ridiculous ruling though, wouldn't it? I mean, he jumped in, he was excited. It was like, Eddie had been behind me since towards the end of the Super 6. I think the first fight was it the...
Abraham? No.
I was going to say Abraham, but was it the Johnson? It might have been the Glengoff-Johnson fight, because that was on Sky, and he was like, fucking hell, this is a bit close. What's Froch doing? I had 3 or 4 rounds early off, had him off, and then I finished a bit stronger and got the win. Quite a close, I think it was a split decision. But anyway, that was Eddie there, and he was thinking, then I lost to Ward, and he's thinking, fucking hell, I need to get back in Sky here. I need to start building and get something. We eventually ended up getting Sky pay-per-view back with the Mikhail Kessler rematch, of course, after the Boutte fight, so it all came good. You know, we worked well as a team. I did the job and I did my job, and Eddie Hearn did his job. But when Eddie jumped in the ring, for that Butte fight, that could have caused serious problems.
You mentioned Joshua there. He's obviously coming back against Jermaine Franklin at the O2 on April the 1st. What are your thoughts about that, and where do you think Joshua is right now, Carl?
I think it's a shame that that AJ has to fight someone like Jermaine Franklin. Not taking anything away from Jermaine Franklin. I mean, he give was it Dylan White?
Yeah.
Give Dylan White a decent enough fight. A lot of people thought he won. But when AJ's at that level where I put him up there at the world level, he's like top 3, top 4 in the world. So I don't think he's at the stage of his career where he needs to have a warm-up and a dip your toe in the water fight. I think he should be straight in with the big guns. We just talked about my fight with Butte. I lost to Andre Ward, straight back in there with Butte, then ended up with the Kessler rematch, then the 2 Groves fights. Just big fight after big fight. I did have one in between there against Yusuf Mack. But I don't think AJ should be fighting these fights. But if he's doing it for him and he's finding his feet with a new trainer, he's got the time, still going to make money, so why not? But I'd rather see him involved in big proper fights rather than like gimmies.
Carl, Eddie Hearn, just very finally, Eddie Hearn has said the other day publicly that if the Usyk-Fury fight doesn't happen, they'd be happy to make that Fury and Joshua fight straight after for the summer if the Usyk and Fury fight wasn't to happen. What do you think about that?
The Fury-Usyk fight is happening though, isn't it? But
Well, apparently it's not been announced yet, but Eddie was saying literally 2 days ago, if that fight doesn't happen, he's more than happy for Joshua then to fight Fury in the summer straight after.
Yeah,
Franklin, it should he come through Franklin?
That's a great shout, and I think it's a fight that should happen. I mean, everyone wants to see Fury take on Anthony Joshua take on Fury because they're the two British big guys that should have fought. They should have fought before now, but that's a fight that makes massive sense for everybody, financially and for the boxing world. So yeah, that fight should happen. Great fight. But do you want to know who's going to win?
Go on.
You already know anyway.
No, come and tell me.
No, it's pointless telling you. You already know. What was you
Just
going to
answer
say?
the question. Go on.
No, go on. What was you going to say? I'll leave you with that one.
Carl, thank you very much for your time. Welcome to Nottingham, absolutely. And we're hoping Lee Wood can do the business tomorrow night here in Nottingham and keep this amazing run going.
You just ripped the arse out of this interview. You took 20 minutes and you just stole the whole. There's girls queuing up behind you. You take all the cream, don't you? It's been a pleasure, mate.
I'll take that as a compliment somewhere.
Nice one, KUGAN.
Top man, Carl Froch. Thank you.
I'm going to share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife and saying completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from it, and this has been like a therapy session.